Guys, welcome to Co Academy. Guys, alienation is one of the main concept of Marx's theory. Okay, Marx believed that in the modern capitalist and industrialist society there is specialization of labor. Okay, so that specialization of labor results in alienation. That is, worker feeling detached from himself and various other processes. So that feeling of detachment Marx referred to is as alienation. Worker does not feel that he owns certain things. He's connected with the production process. He does not feel that he owns the product. He's alienated. Okay, so there are four facets of alienation which Marx talks about. Okay, so the number one is alienation from the objects produced. So let's suppose that if a worker is working in a Ford factory and all he's doing is that he's assembling the windows. Okay, so that worker is alienated from the object, that is the cars being produced, because he does not own what they produce, number one. And the second reason is that he might not be able to see the end result of his product. Let's suppose a worker working in a factory might not be able to see the completely built Ford car. Okay, let alone sit in that car and own that car. So since the this worker, the proletariat, has no connection with the product, he does not own it, he does not know how the entire product is being made, he has no connection with that, no emotional attachment with that. So the first aspect is alienation from the objects produced. Second is the alienation from the process of production. Okay, remember that Marx said that man is essentially a creative being. Okay, so how does he satisfy his this need for creativity? Well, he this creativity is reflected in his work. Okay, let's suppose that before industrial society, people use a person who used to make watch. Well, his creativity was satisfied. He was like making the watches from end to end. Okay, so he had this entire process in entire production process in his site. Okay, he knew what he was working on. But now, after this industrial revolution, he was just, let's suppose, pressing a button and watch was being assembled. So the entire process of production, it was, worker could not relate himself with that production of process. Okay, so the worker was ultimately, in addition to being alienated from the objects being produced, he was also alienated from the entire process of production. The third is the alienation from himself. Okay, since the work which the worker is doing is useless for him. Okay, he does not gets attached to it. But since that work which he is doing takes a considerable portion of his daily life, it means that ultimately the monotonous work which he is performing, it inhibits his growth and potential. So ultimately he does not feels that his faculties are being utilized properly. So he feels alienated from himself. He does not feel himself, because he does not feels that he owns the product, and he works on that product from 9 to 6, so to speak, and sometimes even twice in two shifts. So he is not using his creativity or faculty, so he is disconnected from himself also. So the worker is, number one, alienated from the objects he's producing, number two, from the process of production, and number three, from himself, and lastly, from fellow workers. Because in the modern production process, he is isolated and he's in direct competition with fellow workers. I mean, he is not working in teams. Okay, workers are competing with each other for more labor hours so that they can earn bonuses, and they can just uh, place their foot on somebody else's head and just get promotion. So there is no sense of cooperation, there is only conflict. Workers, they are in this race to get ahead of each other. So once again, they feel alienated from their fellow workers also. They don't feel any connectivity. They don't have any uh, incentive to feel connected with their workers. All the incentive which bourgeoisie give them is to compete with their workers. So alienation means detachment, and Marx says that a worker is detached on four counts. Number one, from the objects he is producing, number two, from the process of production, number three, from himself, and number four, from fellow workers. Well, Marx believed that if division of labor was not there in the capitalist society, then the entire work would have been very interesting, and man, being a creative being, he could have enjoyed what he is producing. He could have enjoyed the entire production process. He could have felt himself lively, that is, he could have associated with himself, and he could have explored other fellow workers. He could have learned from him. But what workers do is that they just try to outdo each other. They don't learn from each other. They don't ask each other. They don't seek each other's advice. Rather, they just try to outsmart each other. So that's the concept of alienation. I hope you like it. Do search other playlists in this channel, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.